All my life I've been considered as the worst.
After hours, drowsy stepping, hearless hermit, hold the reverend. Long distance relationships with 777s. Who'da guessed it? Feeling washed up before his prime mic sessions. And as for rhyming, it's his own.
What's going on, nomads, popular and strangers everywhere across the internet? My name is V, and welcome back to, once again, for probably the last time it's gonna be the late of After Hours Reviews Retro Night, where we're doing something about James Cameron's most acclaimed film before it was Avatar that replaced it for being a very expensive ass movie involving a very touching romance that had a touch-or-go feeling throughout most of the film and then ended in a very shocking way for us all. I'm talking, of course, about Titanic. Now, I've already seen this movie so many times, I can already tell by the many people that are clicking on this again, just like, oh my god, is there a review about Titanic? Okay. What do they all be saying? Well, since you guys know this is a non-scripted review, and I'm just saying this off the top of my head, it's not gonna be a lot. But basically, if you guys have not seen Titanic, where the hell have you been? It's been out for decades now. But no, it's basically just the story about a young woman by the name of Rose Dawson. Well, Rose Tyler, but Rose Dubois. Rose, that was on the Titanic during the time it was setting sail from Europe to go to America, where she had a chance encounter with a poor penniless artist by the name of Jack Dawson, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Ladies, save the moisture for later. Anyway, for a chance encounter from just a teeny tiny harmless stroll to the front of the ship and just basically try to commit suicide for, you know, the same reasons we all do. We're in a loveless engagement to a dick played by Billy Zane, where we're then just contemplating life when Leonardo DiCaprio comes and tries to sweep us off our feet. You've all been there, ladies. You've all been there, right? You've all had that Leonardo DiCaprio experience. And from just that chance encounter, a lot of things change. Rose tries to learn how to be less of an astute lady of the elegant class to be a down-to-earth girl that can do what most down-to-earth girls do. And Jack tries to find love with a lady who just happens to have a lot of money and is played by the ever-so-sexy Kate Winslet. And it just turns into a whole backgammon of, will these star-crossed lovers have a happy ending? Yeah, they don't, because I said star-crossed lovers. So, in essence, this is basically a ship version of Romeo and Juliet. Class system being a huge thing of they can't be together because of either their houses or system-based houses of poor and upper class. And basically trying to have that whole thing of misunderstanding moment in the romance. Misunderstanding is resolved. Then the whole thing goes into a will they make it or won't they make it? Oh wait, because we only see old lady Rose in the movie, that means Jack is already dead. You know, that whole spiel most people get. But all joking aside, this is probably one of the greatest disaster romance films in the genre. And I do mean genre. There's like several more films just like this, including The Hindenburg and Pearl Harbor, for examples. Basically, it's taking what a lot of people hated about Romeo and Juliet and still keeping that whole they fall in love in like a very small stint, but trying to make it seem more believable instead of just like, oh yeah, I fell in love with this bitch I met out of nowhere off screen, and like, oh, who this girl? I wonder if she'll allow me to slide in her DMs real quick. No, it's more or less just like, well, I'm poor, I'm homeless, I'm new on this boat, and oh my god, who is this beauty over there in the red hair? I wonder if she'll let me draw her naked and then fuck her in the back of a car I don't own. You know, the normal stuff that millennials do nowadays. We've all been those kind of guys. You know, we just sneak onto a boat, slide into someone's DMs with the whole draw them naked, and then have sex in a car that we don't know. We've all been there. Show of hands, guys, we've all been there. God, this movie's weird. Anyway, again, all joking aside, it does try to take all the stuff that it has in the whole star-crossed lover genre of they fall in love in a small stint, make it sort of believable in the whole time frame that it happens, because some people do end up falling in love in a small amount of time frames. I've known people that fell in love in elementary school that ended up married to this day, being kindergarten sweethearts. And just going into the whole stint of trying to show how far people will go for actual companionship and love, even if it tries to disregard what the aftermath could have been if they both survived, because one knows high society, the other one is always struggling with finances. The probability of those two working out, I believe, kind of gets summed up pretty well with the other film that Leo and Kate were in together, of Revolutionary Road. And that's gonna be on the list of retro nights somewhere down the line of maybe 2019. Because we have a lot more movies to get through this year. Be that as it may, it does its job well as a romance film of just like, well, it's date number 3. We can Netflix and chill with this if you want, because we've both seen this movie, baby. We've both seen this movie. You can get turned on by Leo, and me, I can stare at Kate Winslet naked for about a couple of seconds and then just be ready. And then we can begin the sex. Just those type of stuff of, you know, those romantic things I hear nonstop about how they form their children. Don't mind me, I'm just being a little bit more wacky than usual in this episode, cause trying to be non-biased with this review by trying to be all critic-like, you know how it is. But, gotta get serious now. So, for a whole thing of ratings and all that sort of stuff, first with the number rating, I'm gonna give this film, I'll be honest and blunt. I'll give it a 10.75 out of 13. It's a pretty good romance film, sells its whole thing about the disaster pretty accurately, and having a lot of believable moments, but a few moments still kind of piss me off. One, very underrated use of Billy Zane. You do not underuse Billy Zane, Hollywood. That man deserves all the screen time he needs to make his success. Second thing, everyone tries to argue about the whole floating door situation, where in actuality, if we're being real and not using movie logic that had Rose surviving at the end of it all because wooden door on the Atlantic Ocean, eventually being secreted with enough water where it could have collapsed at any fucking moment before the lifeboats came back to save them. If we use that logic for Rose surviving, why couldn't we have just automatically had Jack get back on the door after Rose settled onto said door to have buoyancy working? You can't just have one bullshit excuse of movie magic to then just have the whole thing be realism. You can't have it both ways, James Cameron. It's not Alien. Again, Alien's somewhere on this list. It's gonna be this year though, maybe in October. And the third thing of why this is only with a 10.75 out of 13 is because, to be honest, with age, it's just one of those movies that the older I get with the kids I have, the more I'm just like, this is kind of unbelievable for how I would want my daughters to have a romance. I don't want them to all of a sudden have a husband where they just tell me, you know what, Dad, when I met your daughter, I convinced her to take in me, a penniless man that had nothing but a dream, and after struggling for about 5 years and then having you send us money, those exact 5 years, here we are now, we're finally successful, and I'm still not paying you back. You know, just those normal things fathers worry about, you know, those type things. Next up is to the letter and then star rating, which will still culminate into all the reasons why it's at 10.75, which I'm giving this movie a C+, and awarding it with 4 out of 7 stars. But now we must gear up for an important event going on right now, of a 3-movie trilogy of the Soderbergh's Ocean's Trilogy. Let's gear up for that, guys, and I'll see you guys in that episode with a brand new intro and a unique outro for these videos coming on. Can't wait!